Hello, 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 and welcome to our debrief conversation after our show Secrets of the 1%, starring Empire Capital Ventures managing partner Amelia Thomas. I hope you guys have been watching these episodes because Amelia's just been dropping all of this knowledge on us. And sometimes I watch these, Amelia, and I'm like, wow, people pay a lot of money to get this information that we are gleaning from you basically for free. But not just that, we're getting the information that's in the piece, but then we have these awesome conversations with you so we can, sort of ask the questions, these burning questions that may not have been addressed. And so that's a wonderful thing as well. I'm your host, Renee Seiler, Amelia Thomas there in the box. And we're going to do a quick debrief of the episode that you saw tonight on Secrets of the 1%. This, Amelia, was a good one because it was managing financials during economic downturns. And we just came through a really, really tough time, didn't we?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I do not think the worst is past us. I think there was a lot of free money circulating in the economy, and we're seeing the effects of the restrictions in the marketplace now with the tightening of the interest rates and therefore the tightening of money that is flowing freely, with the Federal Reserve. And honestly, I think we do have more economic turmoil to come. We just don't know the time. We don't know the date. But I do think we are going to experience some effects similar to 2008 that we
Mhm.
have not experienced just yet because the federal government has been pumping so much into its resources and government aid to keep the economy afloat. But that just cannot last forever.
Right, right. If you guys are watching this live, you could be watching it on the Facebook page. You might be watching it on YouTube or on LinkedIn. Please go into the chat, say hello, say hi to Amelia, say hi to me, and leave your question. Let us know where you're coming in from and ask your questions. I'm telling you guys, this you have her here right now. So ask the questions. You heard her just say that the worst perhaps hasn't happened yet. We might be waiting for another shoe to drop. And I remember 2008, and that was a really scary time. But there are things that we
Mhm.
should be doing right now to sort of protect ourselves, kind of, act as a buffer for when this happens. And tonight you talked about what W-2 employees should do and what business owners should do. So if you're a
Mhm.
W-2 employee and you're experiencing, tough times, you've been laid off or whatever, what should we do?
So if you're a W-2 employee and you have been laid off, one of the first things that you absolutely should do if you have not done so already, is go ahead and apply for unemployment compensation. Do not wait. Sometimes it takes unemployment offices a few weeks to process claims to get you approved. They also have to validate things with the employer. Sometimes that may take time as well. So that is the first thing I would absolutely advise someone to do is to do not wait. The second thing that I would advise them to do, if they have not already done so, is do everything possible to cut back on discretionary expenses. So
Mhm.
things that you absolutely do not need to make ends meet, go ahead and cut those things back. It doesn't mean that you have to eliminate those line items from your budget forever. It's just the right now thing, just to make sure that, hey, we can have more money at the end of the month, and that we can make our savings last until we can find additional employment or we can pick up some self employment income. The third thing that I would absolutely advise people to do is go ahead and maintain control over the things that you can maintain control of. So that is going to be figuring out what to do with your life insurance. That may mean that you have the potential to take advantage of Cobra.
Mhm.
The second thing would be taking advantage of maintaining control of your life insurance, particularly if you only had life insurance through your employer and you have a family, you have kids, you're married, you have a spouse, you have people that depend on you, other dependents, then you want to make sure that you are financially stable and secure by making sure that you own that policy. You own it, you pay for it, you control it, you name the beneficiaries. And then number three, I would also go ahead and initiate the process to roll over any assets that you may have had with that previous company. So if you had a 401k, you had a pension, and you're able to roll over those assets, I would go ahead and reach out to your companies like Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, open those free traditional IRA, Roth IRA accounts, and roll those assets over into those accounts. That way, if you need that money, you can put your hands on that money instantly, and you're not waiting weeks on top of weeks to access it, because once you transfer that money from your employer's account into your own personal account, it is your money, it's in your control. If you needed that money the next day, you can put your fingers on it.
Can I just confess something that's super petty to you right now? So everybody who's
Sure.
let me just confess a really petty thing that I had left a job and I was like angry with them, but I still have money in my 401k. I'm just here to tell you that you can't root for their demise and have your money still there.
No, no, absolutely not. What was you thinking, Renee?
As soon I got to it, and I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I do have a question about this though. If you have a substantial sum in your 401k, are
Mhm.
there limitations on how much you can put in the IRA, or can you just roll the whole thing over?
You would do what's known as a direct rollover. So a direct rollover means you're telling the fund company that, hey, I'm going to take 100% of the assets in my 401k, and I'm going to directly roll those assets over into a traditional IRA in my name, that I control, and I can control how that money is invested with no limitations. No limitations in terms of how much money you can actually roll over. There are limitations in terms of timing. For example, if they send you the check, right, and the check doesn't go directly to the investment company, you only have 60 days to get that money into that retirement account before it becomes taxable. So there
Mhm.
are some restrictions like that, but overall, no restrictions, 100%. You can have $50,000 in that account. You can have $1,000 in that account. You can have $1 million in that account. You can transfer that money over into a traditional IRA with relatively no restrictions.
Yeah. And you said transfer it over to the IRA in case you need to get your hands on it. If you were to draw down on the IRA, would you have to
Mhm.
pay taxes on it? Because we know 401k is pre-tax. So if you roll it over to an IRA and you have to dip into it for this sort of, stopgap measure, do you have to pay taxes on that?
Yes, you do. So if you have a pre-tax account with your employer, you roll that money over into another pre-tax account, i.e., that traditional IRA with Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, whoever is with, that money still has not been taxed. So when
Mhm.
you take that money out, it now becomes a taxable distribution. And there is no such thing as a loan on a 401 on a traditional IRA. Once you leave your employer, the loans are gone.
Mhm.
If you take money out of the 401 of the traditional IRA, it becomes a distribution. Now, once per year, you can take money out and you can put it back within 60 days with no taxable consequences. That can only happen once per year. And let me be clear, that is once per 365 days.
Mhm. Not
So if
count.
you took money out June 8th, 2024, you can you have 60 days to put that money back, and you cannot do that again until June 8th, 2025.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you have to wait a full 365 days before you can do another rollover.
So, you guys, I hope you're catching all this, but please come in, ask your questions. This is your opportunity. Let me ask you this, Amelia: is that a last ditch effort? I mean, is that something we should do as a very last resort, touching that 401k money or
For
IRA
some,
money?
that's an excellent question, Renee. For some people, Potentially, yes. For others, maybe not so much, depending on the other the other assets that they have available to them. So if they have other assets that's available to them that's liquid, it may make more sense for them to maybe draw down a little bit more on those assets first before touching money that's going to be taxable, money that's going to increase their taxable liability at the end of the year, particularly depending on how much money that they make. But if they believe that their taxable income is going to be lower, then hey, it may not be a bad idea to go ahead and draw down on some of those assets because your taxable income is lower because you work less time, and therefore the money that you take out of the traditional IRA may not hurt you um, as badly as it would have, had you worked a full year. But it also we also have the opportunity cost of what that money could be doing at a
Mhm.
pre-tax level that it's not doing because you have now taken that money out. So you do, in some cases, really need to sit down and evaluate what makes more sense. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of discretionary assets, then it's going to make sense to touch that money. But if you
Yeah.
have a lot of discretionary assets, you have access to line of credit, you can leave that money to continuously be invested, particularly if it is making a really good rate of return. It may make more sense for that money to remain where it is.
Yeah. So, as someone who's lost a job before, I've been through all this. I mean, I'm telling you, my background is television, and if you haven't been fired from a job, you haven't been in television long enough. So I remember that time, and I remember those times and how difficult it was. I would say the very first thing to me was like not to panic, that you
Hmm.
actually have to approach this with a calm and level head. One of your pieces of
Hmm.
advice, talk to a financial advisor, like, and
Hmm.
understand that, you're going to get through this. You may have to tighten your
Hmm.
belt. It may be difficult, but you're going
Hmm.
to get through it. And that's the thing that I would tell people if they were facing something like this, which is it'll be hard, and you're going to
Hmm.
stretch and you're going to grow, and it's going to be scary, but you are going to be able to get through it with good solid advice and information that you're giving us. One of the things also,
Absolutely.
Amelia, you talked about W-2 employees, business owners. That's like a whole different scenario, isn't it?
Hmm. Absolutely. Business owners just have more things to consider during economic turmoil. Particularly if you have employees. If you have employees, you have people that work for you, people who rely on the income that business generates. You have some additional stressors, and you have some additional people that you have to think about during times of economic turmoil. So yes, the things that business owners would need to be concerned with are going to be different than what someone would need to be concerned with if they were working for someone as a W 2 employee. And that's why the first item on that list was a contingency plan. What is the contingency plan in the event disaster strikes? And economic turmoil, contingency plan is needed. It doesn't matter if it's due to economic turmoil. A contingency plan is necessary if your headquarters burns down. A contingency plan is necessary if half of your workforce gets sick and they
Mhm.
can't work. What is the contingency plan? So it's not just for economic downturns, it's for whenever a major disaster or catastrophe happens that significantly impacts the operation of that business. That's when the contingency plan should be able to come to life and be able to be implemented immediately. Um, Regardless of whether you're a W 2 person or a business owner, planning helps you prevent poor performance, right? It helps you be prepared. Um, and so we want to be prepared as possible in the event disaster strikes, and that contingency plan is very necessary.
Yeah, so we talked about planning for this episode. Last episode, we were talking about estate planning and having the power of
Yes.
attorney and the durable POAs and power of attorney,
Hmm.
all those things. And these themes keep coming around and around and around. And it is
Yes,
making sure you have things in place before you actually need them to be in place.
that's correct.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add about tonight's episode? Or let's see, we've got a few comments in here. Tanika says she didn't know that about a rollover. That's good. She says, in the past, my life insurance company allowed me to pay for my monthly payments from my policy payout and then pay it back later. That's good. Hi,
Mhm.
Leslie. Leslie says, hello, everyone from Mighty Money Making MD. And then Rhonda Waters, hello from Maryland. So we got a couple of folks in here. Anything else you want to add that we should, that I didn't ask you about or you want to touch on? This has been a great series, Amelia. I feel like I know a little bit, just like kind of enough to be dangerous about financial planning and life and that sort of thing. But I feel like we're going even deeper, which is really exciting.
Yeah, many times, Renee, many people believe that this information is not really applicable to them because they're like, oh, this is so elementary. Like, these are things everyone should know. But the reality is, there are millionaires walking around right now who do not know this information. And if
Mm,
something were to happen, they would be in trouble and they would be in trouble soon because they don't have access to this information. So it is very imperative that you take this information to heart and know that these are just some foundational steps. This is not all. There are many other things that you probably should be doing to be properly prepared, but you absolutely need to have that conversation with your financial advisor, your financial planner, whoever's helping you managing your wealth to make sure that, hey, we are properly prepared in the event of a disaster. I think another thing that we should be thinking about is, hey, like, what happens if, um, one of our enemies across, the water and the lands, suddenly is able to attack us? You
mm,
know, um, how do we be prepared in situations like that? We can see that the world economy is becoming more volatile. We can see that the world political relations is becoming more volatile. How do we properly prepare for those things? So properly prepare for those things means that, hey, we have a plan. We have contingencies, not just financially, but even inside the home in terms of, just clothing, food, shelter, that type of thing as well. So like, there's just so many aspects with being prepared as it relates to financial planning and overall financial well-being. Because at the end of the day, these things cost money. Every
mm.
single thing that you do to be prepared for an economic downturn costs money. So plan, plan as far ahead as possible, make adjustments as necessary, but you have to constantly plan and you have to keep that plan up to date.
I think when people start businesses, they're all excited. We have business cards and we have a website and we have this and we have clients and we have that and the other.
This
And
is the stuff that's not sexy, Renee. This is the stuff people
exactly.
don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
Don't like to think about,
But like
We
you
have
said,
28 team members. I have to think about these things,
right, right. But like you said, and also for when you're a business owner, the whole goal is to be able to emerge from that,
Mhm,
from that economic, upheaval and hit the
mhm.
ground running again. So in order to do that,
Yes.
you have to have your runway straight. You got to have a nice long runway that
Mhm,
survive while times are tough and then get right back up and get
mhm.
business. So Amelia,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. I really have enjoyed chatting with you. You always look like fresh as a daisy when we see you. You all
Oh,
with
thank you.
but really appreciate the information, the knowledge, the information, and the time, and have really enjoyed what you've been sharing with us. So thank you.
No, thank you for hosting, Renee. I really appreciate all of your efforts and all of your hard work.
All right, and for you guys at home, don't forget Amelia. Amelia. How can they reach you? What's the web address? Is
Sure. So the website address is www.empirecapitalventures.com, or you can email us at support@empirecapitalventures.com as well.
And we cannot forget to tell people that we're running a special offer at weeklywealthreport.com. You can go over
That's
there and get
right.
2 weeks of financial advice and information right there. So go check that out on the website as well. Amelia, thank you so much. Have a great night. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.